Hey, I'm Joe Furman. I'm the Planning and Inspection and Economic Development Director for Watauga County. I've been working for the county since 1984 as the Planning Director. Here in the 90s, what was developed out there was called Heavenly Mountain Resort and the Spiritual Center of America. The Spiritual Center of America was two campuses that were occupied by persons who practiced transcendental meditation. And they lived there in dormitory-style facilities, and their job was to meditate corporately several hours a day. Also, some of them had some jobs where they made money. A lot of them were internet-based jobs. I was out there once when they were meditating corporately, and it was dead silence, no movement. It was a group of probably close to 100 men sitting on mats in the meditation hall, as still as they could be. Surrounding the two campuses and in between was a development called Heavenly Mountain Resort. And it was expensive lots and also some multifamily style development. And the people who bought there did not have to practice transcendental meditation. They just had to be able to afford to live there. On the upper end here is the men's campus. It had quite a few dormitory facilities, a dining hall, a meditation hall, had its own water and sewer systems. The women's campus, East Campus, is down here. Same thing, although the meditation halls and dining hall were both actually attached to dormitory style living. Also down on that end was the Ideal Girls School, which was a boarding school for teenage girls. Right about in the middle here is what's called the Village. That was had some multifamily and some recreation facilities. And all of this in between were lots, single-family lots. Vocation there was to meditate. They were at such a level of transcendental meditation that they were expected to be celibate, and they were kept apart so as not to be a distraction to each other, as they might well have been had they been together. So that's the reason for the separation. They used architectural and construction techniques called Sthapatya-Vedic architecture, if I've pronounced it correctly. That's an Indian word, and it has to do with the use of natural materials as well as the directions the buildings are facing. Electrical charges, as I understand it, the direction the wastewater exits the building, those sorts of things. For insulation, for instance, they used cotton, and they didn't use fiberglass insulation. That's just an example. The buildings had a light, skylight, and a shaft of light in the center. It's my understanding most, if not all of them, faced east, and that the wastewater had to exit, in a certain direction. There was a disagreement, and eventually the Kaplans. David has a twin brother named Earl who's his partner in this, but David's the front man and is the one who's been here. Had a very public disagreement, and they denounced transcendental meditation. And shortly after that, the occupants of the two campuses left. The campuses were vacant for quite some time. Recently, some of them have been, some of the dormitory type buildings have been repaired and renovated and reopened as rental property. Many of them ASU students renting out there, if not all. Last year, about this time, I met with Mr. Kaplan and some of his associates who had plans to use the property there for purposes of doing some what they were calling sustainable development and some green construction. They were going to develop some homes that were perhaps even off the grid entirely, energy efficient. There was talk of and rumors about a bunch of homeless people being brought in to live there and to be trained to do this type building. And In fact, a man approached the Board of County Commissioners about that. That hit the papers, and there was some unhappiness about that expressed by residents nearby. Turns out that really wasn't ever the plan, or seemingly wasn't. Mr. Kaplan said it wasn't.